Hello, hello, everyone. Hey, neither one of us have our Santa hats on.
Hot diggity.
We
Well,
forgot our Santa. Wait, I haven't put
fortunately,
reindeer
they're
on.
close at hand.
My goodness, here. Got this for me. I'm not gonna make you keep that on the whole time because you're gonna get
But you're
you're
going to
gonna
put it
get so
on.
hot because you're so cute in it. Happy
Welcome.
holidays, everyone. If you're not familiar, we
Coming
love
to
the
you live.
holidays.
Coming to you
That's
live.
right. That's right. Thirsty Friday. We're on a Friday night this week. Normally it's
For
Thirsty
sure.
Thursday. I almost started to say Thirsty Thursday and I had to remind myself. Welcome, everyone. I'm Suzanne. I am the founder of the Crafty Cask, and we are all about celebrating and supporting craft alcohol makers like some of the wonderful ones we'll be including in today's delicious craft cocktails that Evan's created.
We're very excited to share these with you and to share these delicious craft makers with you as well and talk to you a little bit about how you can make your holiday cocktail repertoire enviable.
Absolutely. Yes. So we are going to get started here. And let's just see. We would love it if everyone can throw in the chat where they're joining us from, what cocktail they're most excited about, maybe, if they're super into Christmas, if they're not into Christmas. We have a kind of interesting story ourselves here in our household. I am a Christmas crazy, and I always have been. I love it, love it, love it.
Crazy.
I mean, I'm a little insane. We have lights in every room of our house except the bathroom, which I'm going to fix shortly. But so I love Christmas so much. And then my dear Evan was born on Christmas Eve.
Hi.
And so he has some conflicted feelings around Christmas. But
I have a very fun uh, not bow tie, just necktie that I recently discovered a pretty apropos understanding of it. It's my tongue-in-cheek humbug because there's skull and crossbones on a candy cane tie.
Yes, yeah.
And I don't know.
But
it
I have
allows me to relish in the Christmas cheer and also, okay, crazies.
dial it back, dial it back. But I have to say, over the years, I've rubbed off on him, and he actually bought us these matching sweaters.
No,
so.
I didn't. I got a gift certificate. I didn't buy them.
Yes, yes. All right. I'd say we get this party started. It sounds like Bob is most excited about the s'mores old fashioned, but he's going to have to wait for cocktail number
Chelsea,
2
Matt,
for that.
Arizona, Dallas, Texas.
Yeah, yeah. We have some good coverage here.
Hey, Tom and Steph.
Zach, Elaine, Bob, everyone. Yeah, welcome,
Zach.
welcome. Yeah, but I say we jump right in and get us all drinking on our first cocktail here, which is a spiced cranberry gimlet. Do you want to tell us a little just about gimlets in general first, what a gimlet is?
Sure. Yeah. So gimlet is a category or an example of a category called a sour. Sours are generally typified and are one of the earliest cocktails, but generally typified by roughly an equal part of a spirit and then either a sweetening and or a souring component. Usually it's both.
Yeah.
The sour to complement the sweet and vice versa, so that the alcohol that is the base of it isn't so overwhelming. And in the earliest incantations of sours, these were things that allowed you to drink spirits that were decidedly less refined 100 years ago. Having the availability of fresh citrus and ice for the first time for many people ever and enjoying any kind of alcoholic beverage. You know, they didn't have cold beer back then. And in fact, if they did, it'd be like the way we talk about it now, which is if it's cold, it's because you're trying to kind of cover up
the taste of it. The taste of it. Ice cold. Yes. But is it a daiquiri, a gimlet? It's not, right? They're kind of similar.
Yeah. Yeah. So the kind of following of how it started was citrus and some kind of sweetener. Gimlet probably preceded a daiquiri, but they're probably very close because fundamentally they're the same ratios. The difference being that a gimlet was gin or is it gin, and the daiquiri, or at least the earliest daiquiris before resorts and blenders
Commercialization got hold of them.
and made them into strawberry, pinot, everything.
Yes. So yeah, if you're familiar with a classic daiquiri, a gimlet is kind of like that, but with gin.
Yeah.
And speaking of gin, our first cocktail is using this lovely San Miguel Southwestern gin. And we always encourage you to take a sip of your gin or your spirit before you make your cocktail, because if you've never tasted this before,
Basically everything that's included.
Yeah, all your ingredients. If you've never had that ingredient before, it's been a while since you've had that ingredient, we encourage you to take a little nip of it to taste it. And especially this Southwestern gin is made in San Diego. Old Harbor Distillery is out in San Diego. And they really try to imbue the taste of the Southwest, essentially. And so they're using things like cilantro and lime and sage, and I think maybe cucumber. I don't know if that's really Southwestern necessarily, but but the cilantro is interesting. And actually, when we were first planning this kit, we were like, ooh, we don't know if this gin's going to work in this drink. But the cilantro is very faint. And so we would encourage you to.
Because I'm, touch and go with cilantro.
Yeah, you like a little bit of it, but not a lot.
I feel like it's one of those things that overpowers
very easily.
Truffle is the same way for me.
Yeah. So take a little nip of your gin just to try it, and then let's get making our cocktail. And we actually have a cocktail cam here, so you can see up close and personal.
Oh yeah, that's right. I'm on. Okay.
There you go.
Right
Perfect.
There. Perfect. Yeah. So first off, we're gonna add lime juice, and you should have gotten a lime in your kit. And we really like using fresh lime, which is the reason why we included an actual lime as opposed to just lime juice in this kit. Part of the reason being is that when you use fresh squeezed lime, you get some of the oil from the lime zest and the peel. And it just adds another layer of complexity that we find to be really important and gives a little bit more breadth and depth of flavor.
It's often why cocktails at bars taste a little better if they're doing fresh lime juice and lemons versus using out of a bottle. That extra bit of essential oil can really help.
All right, well, that didn't give me quite as much
as they typically do.
Lime as I'd like.
Yeah. Yeah, typically you say you get about an ounce out of the
about an ounce
out of the lime
from the lime.
Yeah,
which is why we included 2 there. So apologies if it's a little bit less than that. You can scale back a little bit on the sweetness, the addition of the cranberry, the spiced cranberry syrup that we'll add next, in an effort to kind of keep it balanced in a way that you don't feel like you're getting as much lime juice as we suggested that you should.
Yeah. Yeah.
And one of the things that we always like to talk about at this point is the fact that we're adding lime juice first, and then now we're adding the spiced simple syrup. It's
spiced cranberry syrup.
I'm sorry.
It is a type of simple syrup. Yes.
3/4 of an ounce of that, and I guess the main thing to note here that is important, at least if you have aspirations of having a fun home cocktail bar, you don't want to waste product. If you do it at a bar, hey, the owner has to pay for the margin cost. But spilling and using something like lime juice and simple syrup, if you add a little bit too much or a little bit too little, and you have to start over, it's not as big of a deal as if you use something more expensive first. So adding the most expensive stuff last is always something that we espouse and is the way that I was taught, and it makes a lot of sense. And in fact, I was reprimanded the first time I worked at a bar that insisted that you measure, and I was not used to measuring. So we're going to add 2 ounces of that, which is half of what you have there. It doesn't look like that.
You only have 1 ounce.
So
talking and making cocktails at the same time is
and my
tricky.
jigger might be very different. This is 1.5 ounces and 1/2 ounce, and I think I just added 1.75. Okay, so there you go. Add all the ingredients first. The other thing that you want to do before you actually make the cocktail is provide yourself with a little bit of the beautifulness of it. So cutting yourself a little bit of a lemon wedge or a lime wedge in this case.
Yeah, often you want to
jingle, jingle, jingle.
Often you want to think about preparing your glass before you even start making the cocktail, particularly in some instances where there's a little bit more preparation, but at the very least, thinking about your garnish. And if you want to cut a piece of lime before you squeeze it or anything like that, or use a zest before you squeeze it, things of that nature. So thinking about the final product before you start cutting into things.
Well, that doesn't look very pretty.
Well, we just our rule that we just gave, we didn't follow ourselves. Typically,
True story.
Yeah. Typically, you think about slicing a nice, pretty, perfect little piece of lime and then juicing the rest of the lime or things of that nature. But as I said, multitasking,
Well, the second
talking
half
and
of that,
explaining while making cocktails.
second half of that lime, I didn't expect them to use.
That's true. That is true. You were only thinking you were going to use half. And now this other trick here that Evan's doing. So a lot of people, when they make cocktails at home, they put all the ice in their cocktail shaker and then they start pouring things in and then they start talking and getting distracted and then they keep pouring things in and they shake. You'll notice Evan built all the liquid kind of in here in one side of the shaker. Now he's adding ice in the other side of the shaker because you really don't want to add the ice until the last second, until you're really ready to shake.
Yeah, because otherwise the entire time that you're adding all the other ingredients, the ice is melting and you're diluting your drink more than needs to be. So add them all after having mixed them together, and then get crazy.
Jingle, 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 jingle.
The pitter patter.
With the extra jingleness from your bracelet.
Oh yeah, that's why I wore this.
Yeah. And you'll notice, and we can show you when he makes the next drink, I guess the last drink. When he's shaking, he's not just shaking back and forth, right? He's really trying to create chaos and using his wrists and kind of you're basically, if you think about it, you're trying to get the ice, not going from top to bottom, but you're trying to get the ice to like boomerang all around the inside of the shaker and go through everything as much as possible so that it's cooling it as quickly as possible. And it's also giving it a little aeration.
Yeah, the aeration is really important, and the more it moves around, the better all the flavor components mix. If you were to add simple syrup, or in this case, spiced cranberry syrup, and then lime juice, and then add gin, and then just add ice to a martini glass like this, they're all going to sit in layers on top of each other. And you really have to kind of emulsify them by shaking them around and making the jingle well. And so, yeah, we found this drink to be a really fun kind of flavor complement of what a regular kind of gimlet would sound like and taste like and smell like, but with an appropriate color.
And flavor. The spiced cranberry says the season, right? Cranberry is definitely of the season. And it's nice because a lot of the holiday cocktails can be heavy, can be rich, right? Our second and third one are a little bit heavier and richer. Sure. So it's nice to have a holiday cocktail that feels holiday-esque, but also is light and bright, something a little easier drinking.
How did it do?
The tartness with the sweetness. I love the tartness of that spiced cranberry. It's really nice, and the lime juice too. Yeah, it's quite delightful.
So any time of the year, a gimlet is a really nice kind of aperitivo, start to a meal. The tartness of the lime and the botanicals and the, I guess, floral and herbal characteristics of the gin are something that is a very common way to start a meal. And it's a great way to start a Christmas meal, especially with the... That's quite nice.
Yeah, it is quite nice. And if any of you, I know I recognize quite a few names who are here as our members, but I also see a few names of people who aren't members. So if you didn't get a SipScout kit that has all the ingredients, the spiced cranberry liqueur or syrup, things of that nature, throw in the chat what you do have on hand and say, hey, I'm trying to make a gimlet. I have lime juice, I have gin. Here's what else I have going on. To make a classic gimlet, you would just use simple syrup. And so typically you would do equal parts sugar and water and just kind of make a basic simple syrup, but then you can flavor that however you'd like, right? You can leave a little rosemary in there and kind of let that rosemary infuse. things of that nature. Another fun thing you could do to make this a very special looking cocktail for the holidays is you could essentially turn it into a snow globe cocktail. So it's something that's very trendy this year right now. We should have actually made one and brought it out. But basically what you do is you can use a glass like this, I guess you could do it in this as well. You would put some cranberries in the bottom here, maybe put a little sprig of rosemary in the middle, fill it with water and put it in the freezer. And now those cranberries and that piece of rosemary are going to freeze in the bottom of your glass. And then you pour your cocktail on top of it, but you have these beautiful like snow globe effect of these cranberries and a little Christmas tree kind of sticking out of there. So if you're going hostess with the mostess mode, that is like the beautiful touch that you can do for your display.
Also, a brief cautionary tale, if you like this drink and go and order it at a bar, a very common representation of a gimlet. Yeah, it is quite good. I like, this is one of those instances where the touch, subtle, nuanced touch of cilantro, I'm okay with.
It's really nice.
I'm
yeah,
okay with
I
it.
agree.
It's just when I can't even taste the salsa or the guacamole or the taco or the banh mi because all I taste is cilantro.
Do you all taste the cilantro in the gin? If you guys took a little sip of your gin, just throw in the chat if you can pick that out at all. I also get the sage in the gin a little bit too, which is another very nice holiday flavor complement to this. But I like this gin a lot. A lot of gins kind of hit you in the face with that juniper pine tree kind of flavor. And this one, honestly, it's almost absent. Like it's very like citrusy and bright and smooth and easy drinking.
The cautionary tale I was referring to is the fact that usually, oftentimes, a gimlet is made with simply gin and Rose's lime juice. Or in case you ordered a vodka gimlet, same. Rose's lime juice is something that is pretty divisive, and some people feel like that is the only way to make a gimlet, and some people feel like that is just abhorrent, and you need to use fresh lime juice and simple syrup, or in our case, the spiced cranberry syrup. I feel like the nice intermediary is a little bit of Rose's lime juice and a little bit of fresh lime juice and a little bit of simple syrup. Build them together, find the middle of the road, and then decide, which end of the spectrum you might gravitate towards.
This is like bartender debate land that we're in here right now.
True story.
This is geeking out over those nuanced kind of details in cocktails, but it is a fun experiment.
Yeah, the cautionary tale is don't take this to be for granted as what you might expect if you went to a bar and ordered a gimlet with cranberry or spiced cranberry even, because
yeah. While we have our first cocktail to sip on a little bit, I wanted to let our members know what's coming up next month. Give a little sneak preview to our January kit that's coming up. Get everyone excited. And for those of you who aren't members, you can get a little sneak preview too. So next month we have a craft cider kit, and it's featuring one of our favorites, Eden ciders.
Oh my gosh, Eden is so good.
Eden is up in Vermont. They are wonderful. They are like one of the OG kind of craft cider makers here. And they make beautiful, beautiful ciders. They just started canning, which is really exciting because that makes it a little easier for us to send more ciders to you, honestly. So you'll be getting an heirloom apple cider, a hopped cider, which for beer lovers out there who kind of, really like IPAs, things of that nature, that's often a fun kind of introduction. This Trokestar is a cider that is fermented on Riesling skins. And then we have the Brut Rosé cider, which is apple cider with some currants. You can go ahead and shake and jingle all the way.
No, I like to jingle every time you say a different product that they're offering.
But then the piece de resistance that you guys are all going to be very excited to receive is this full bottle of ice cider. And if you haven't had ice cider before, let me tell you, you are in for a treat. If you've ever had ice wine, it's kind of made in a very similar way. And so they kind of let the fruit freeze before they harvest it and before they process it, so that there's ice crystals and that more of the water gets taken out as they're processing it. So the flavors are really concentrated and the sugar is really concentrated and the aromas are really concentrated. So it's really just it's like intensely biting into an apple, but because Eden is using these heirloom apples, It's still tart and bright and not overly sweet.
Delicious.
It is such a good after dinner sipping spirit or sipping cider by the fire. It's really quite lovely, and we're very excited to introduce all of you to that next month. So if you're not a member and you want to get that, please jump on over to the Crafty Cask and order by December 31st before the kit is gone. How are we liking our gimlet?
Got some
Tom and Steph
opinions about
prefer the fresh lime and own
gimlets.
sugar.
And Eden, yeah. Ed,
Ed, you know
we
Eden,
totally
great.
agree.
Yeah.
It's the best.
Yeah, great.
It's the best.
I think you prefer the fresh lime and your own simple syrup too, right? Do you prefer
I
that
mean,
over roses?
I wouldn't drink a gimlet made with roses. No. Frankly, I would drink very few things made with roses.
It's better than the lime juice and the squeezy lime.
Sorry, that sounds a little like
fresh, all the way.
it tastes better.
Is it time to make Bob happy? He's been waiting for the s'mores old fashioned since the beginning of since the start.
Since the rumor came out, since that began percolating.
This s'mores old fashioned is become a fast favorite in our household since Evan created it a couple months ago, whenever that was. So we are very excited to introduce you to this one.
So, while Suzanne was talking to you a little bit about Eden and our next kit, I was pouring out all of our graham cracker and chocolate graham cracker crumbs. And so this is going to be the first part of what we're going to be doing here to our point earlier, like, kind of getting your cocktail glass ready before you actually make the cocktail is oftentimes helpful. Partially because you don't want it to be extra diluted, and also so that as soon as you're done making it, you can hand it to the person. They can get the best possible representation of it. We're going to take a little bit of the toasted marshmallow syrup, which is going to be used in the cocktail, but we're also going to add that to the rim of the glass. I've got a little sponge here. A paper towel works just fine. If you have a sponge by your sink that's been sitting there for a while, please don't use that.
I'm gonna clean sponge, something clean, paper towel, something like that.
But something that you can put a dab of that, actually a fairly decent amount. You're not going to run out of it for making the cocktail, and kind of rub it all over the inside of the glass like
Ooh,
this.
I can smell that marshmallow.
Or I'm sorry, on the outside of the glass. And then you're going to want to roll it in the graham cracker and chocolate
Get a lot on there.
crumb mixture, because man, it's good, and you don't want to have just enough of it that you get a hint of it, and then you've got the rest of the cocktail without enough of it. So apply it liberally and get that glass kind of coated quite nicely on the outside. The next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the ice that we have prepared earlier, which I'm sorry that we didn't include this in your kit, but a beautiful
Shipping ice is hard.
a beautiful little sphere of directionally frozen ice that, as the frost kind of like wears off the outside, it's perfectly clear. And add that to your glass.
If you like making cocktails at home and you really appreciate larger ice, getting a directional freezer for Christmas, perhaps putting that on your Christmas list is a fun little gift. It doesn't take up too much space. You just take it out and put it in the freezer when you need it, and yeah, they make beautiful, beautiful ice.
And then again, in maybe what many of you kind of perceive as the reverse order of making a cocktail, we're going to add the toasted marshmallow simple syrup, and it's just a teaspoon of it. You don't need a lot, or at least the recipe that we've created doesn't include a lot. If you like a little bit more sweetness,
Yeah.
go ahead and add more. It's delicious. This is one of those things, like Suzanne mentioned with the gin, trying things that
Give it a
you're
little
adding.
taste. Yeah. You've tasted it.
I have tasted it.
Yeah.
And my goodness, it tastes just like toasted marshmallow.
Yeah, it really does. Yeah, but if you like things a little sweeter, you know, you can add a little more, take a less, especially because we are using rye whiskey in this cocktail. And so a lot of people, when they're making whiskey cocktails, they think of bourbon and they reach for their bourbon. But we really like rye whiskey in cocktails because that spiciness of the rye and the fact that it's a little less sweet than bourbon can really stand up to the sweetness of the additions that you're adding to the cocktail. So it's not overly sweet.
And then I'm going to do this in the reverse order so I don't get it wrong. And get the full 2 ounces of the Kentucky Straight Rye Whiskey from New Rift.
New Riff. Yeah, New Riff
Sorry,
is in
Riff.
is in Kentucky. And they like to say they are taking a new riff on an old tradition of making Kentucky bourbon. They are pretty dedicated to the sour mash, I believe. And so they are constantly experimenting, and they make a rye, they make a bourbon, they make malted whiskey, I believe, and I believe they just started making a gin as well.
And then I would say, you know, it doesn't have to be liberal. There's not a whole lot in there, but at least a 1 full dropper of the cocoa bitters is going to add the chocolate component of your s'mores.
Mm-hmm.
And again, once you've added all of the ingredients, my recommendation.
Oh, you're going to put ice to cool it down a little bit before you pour it over?
Yeah.
Ice cube? So a lot of you who are familiar with old fashions, you often make old fashions in the glass, and that's partially often because you're muddling a sugar cube in there or fresh sugar.
Right. But cooling it down before you put it over the ice cube or fresh ice means that the ice that you add it onto is going to melt and dilute your cocktail at a much slower rate. And so cooling it off before adding it to your glass is, you know, something that we recommend.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, some people like it a little bit more diluted anyhow, and that's perfectly valid. But cooling it off first so that you're putting ice cold cocktail on a piece of ice means that that ice cube is going to slowly melt instead of melt quickly, unevenly. And especially with these nice ice cubes, you don't want them to they start to look like icebergs or mushrooms, where the top part is completely solid and the bottom part is.
Just smell it, because like you smell the graham cracker, you smell that cocoa bitters, you smell the marshmallow. It's
really quite good.
Oh man, it smells so good. This cocktail just makes me happy in my soul. But it does make me wish I had a roaring fire next to me. I will say that. Yeah, I love the texture of the graham cracker with it too, like that little bit of chew with it, and it kind of like dissolves in your mouth a little. Yeah. So, but you know, if you're feeling like you want a little bit more of that chocolate, add a little bit more of the cocoa bitters. If you feel like you want it a little bit sweeter, you can add a little bit of the marshmallow syrup. So you can really, we love old fashions. They're such a simple drink, but you can really make them your own. You can play around with, you know, those 3 ingredients. You can really play riff, if you will, with the New Riff Distillery, and make it your own. And it's really quite fun. Yeah, see, perfect. So Steph poured more of the marshmallow syrup into hers than Tom did. And yeah, the chocolate bitters these are just Angostura, weren't they? Angostura chocolate bitters? Cocoa bitters? I believe so.
Yep, I believe you're right.
Yeah, so easy
Angostura,
to get.
Yeah, one of them are like readily available producers of bitters, one of maybe the originators of bitters.
Yeah. And we would suggest, though, cocoa bitters versus chocolate bitters, because cocoa bitters will be less sweet than chocolate bitters, right? And so that is a little difference that you'll see when you're shopping for bitters out there.
Fee Brothers makes a very nice one as well. one of the, I guess, primary differences between Fee Brothers Cocoa Bitters and Angostura Cocoa Bitters is that Fee Brothers are non-alcoholic and Angostura are actually stronger than most spirits.
But you're just using a drop or two of them. So
Right.
yeah.
But what that does in terms of like transference of aroma, particularly, and particularly more so when you are kind of just dashing it on the top. We added it in before we shook it, or in this case, stirred it. And that's preference. You know, some people like their drinks shaken, some people like them stirred. If I'm making a gin martini, I'm going to stir it. And if I'm making it for Suzanne, I'm going to shake it because
That's what I prefer.
there's no wrong answer.
Yeah.
Some people like things different ways.
Yeah, and really shaking, like we said before, when you shake, you're aerating a little bit, you know, so that's one of the differences between shaking and stirring is that you're kind of including or introducing air to it so it can kind of change the viscosity and the texture of the drink a little bit versus stirring kind of is a little bit more pristine, more pure, not going to kind of, in some instances, people worry about bruising. Bruising gin is often a common, which is why a lot of people say don't shake gin martinis because those gentle botanicals that are kind of in there, you don't want to bruise them.
Yeah.
So pros and cons.
Yeah, I feel like texturally, what happens when you shake a cocktail is the, you know, as Suzanne was saying, the aeration of the cocktail creates a little bit, I don't want to say foamy necessarily, but the more sugar and the more viscous components that there are in the cocktail, the more there will be this like kind of light, ephemeral kind of characteristic to it. Something like a straight gin cocktail, stirring it allows for the density that is meant to kind of hit your palate. It's nicely chilled, ideally ice cold. So it's like a pillow wrapped around a gold brick as it hits your mouth. And there's this weight, but still softness with a properly made stirred martini, as opposed to this kind of levity and brightness of something that's shaken and kind of like dances over your tongue, as opposed to sitting in your mouth when you take a sip. All a matter of preference. And
as are most things
experiment
with most things with booze. Whenever someone's making you feel bad about your choices with you know, how you like to drink your thing.
Makes you feel bad about
you know, I
things?
feel like people do whiskey snobbery with like, you know, is that an old
How dare
what's the
you
age on that whiskey? If it's not 10 years
How
or
dare
older,
you
like
put ice in that whiskey?
yeah, it's all bullshit. It's all I'm sorry. It is. It's a matter of preference, it's a matter of taste, it's a matter of what you like. You know, there are some boundaries to that, perhaps, you know, to respect what's in the glass as well. But for the most part, drink things the way you like to drink them. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that was an early boundary that I recognize. I think I've told you the story with Macallan.
I'm not recalling it, but go ahead.
Well, so I was gifted a bottle of Macallan Cask strain. Generally, you know, whiskeys are distilled up to 190 proof, and then before they are bottled, they're proofed down with whatever water source the distiller chooses to use, to get it to the point where they like the flavor profile, or in some cases, it's at the bare minimum that it needs to be
legal
classified as whiskey, which is 80% alcohol by volume, 40 proof, or sorry, 80 proof, 40%
reverse it.
Strike that, reverse it. Is that the best representation of the flavor profile that you can get there? Not necessarily, but if they're making something that's a commodity, you know, Jack Daniel's, Jim Beam, they're going to be 80 proof and 40% alcohol by volume. There are a lot of craft producers now that are making spirits at the proof that they feel represents the flavor profile that they think is the most exemplary and the most demonstrative of what they want to display based on their aging profiles and the source material that you're using, corn, barley, wheat, whatever it might be. And so selling a product like a cask strength whiskey at, I think the Macallan was, geez, I want to say like 140 proof. So significantly higher than 80 proof. Almost flammable. It came in a gift pack that was accompanied with a bottle of spring water from the Macallan distillery, where they feel very strongly that the water source that they use is one of the most important components, given the fact that it makes up
most of the bottle,
at least half. I mean, I guess if it's a high of proof that the cask strength was, not quite half.
But very similar to the New York bagel argument, right? Like the water or pizza, or like the water is very important.
Yeah.
And so if you're going to proof it down.
And so the cask strength bottle was accompanied with some spring water from the Macallan distillery, and being able to kind of dose it off and give it 7 or 8 drops here and try it, and then a few more and try it again and try it again, and figure out how much you want to proof it down for your palate and your experience of drinking the whiskey, because it does change the profile demonstrably. Like, as you add the water, the vapor pressure of all the different aromatic components, the esters and the aldehydes are evaporating out and you're smelling, also kind of separate and are pulled apart in a way that allows you to perceive flavor profiles a little bit more acutely with each addition, going from this is way too strong, it's putting chest hair on my chest hair, to this just tastes like water with a little bit of whiskey added to it.
Yeah, there's a fine line between those. One drop too many and you can really cross that line for sure. Yeah. Doesn't New Riff have beautiful bottles? They're like shaded and like frosted at the top. And so this rye whiskey is actually bottled in bond, and it also does not use chill filtration. And it says like it's etched on the bottle, bottled in bond without chill filtration, because they are so proud of that. And let me tell you, embossing the glass on glass in a bottle is not cheap. But so what that means is, the more you filter a drink or a spirit, the more of those esters and oils you're kind of pulling out of it that give it the nuance, that give it the body, that give it the viscosity in your mouth. And so, there are a lot of brands out there, especially the big booze brands that you find in the grocery stores, that say filtered 10 times, filtered 30 times. And they're like, bigger is better. The bigger number is better, right? That's what we've been trained to think as Americans, is bigger is always better.
Little is good.
Yeah. More is better. But when it comes to filtration, people get nervous about having spirits that aren't perfectly clear and don't look pristine and beautiful. But that's taking out a lot of the flavor and a lot of the aromas and a lot of the beauty of it. So because you're part of SipScout, you're friends of the Crafty Cask, you're in the know. So if you see something that says without filtration, without chill filtration, you might want to try that one over the ones that are boasting about how many times they filter things. So yeah, New Riff is a fun brand for sure to keep an eye on. They're doing some really cool stuff.
One of the main reasons that they do that is the fatty acids that remain in solution prior to chill filtration cause the final product to oftentimes be a little bit
cloudy.
Yeah, milky, cloudy, flocculated, and the general common consensus or belief among consumers is that this isn't something that's pristine and clear, therefore there's something wrong with it.
There's something wrong with it. More flavor, more aroma.
Dang it. I wish I had bought that.
One of our favorite flavored vodka producers who uses whole fruit. I mean, there'll be like stuff falls out of solution where you'll see like a layer and you have to kind of like tilt it up to get it back in solution. But it's because they're using all fresh ingredients and they're not filtering it heavily, so that you keep those oils from the zest and all that flavor in there. And it's one of the best ones on the market, honestly. So
and one of the first for doing it.
Charbet makes beautiful vodka, and if you are flavored vodkas. Yeah. Since we have 2 drinks, should we do a little mid-session cheers and a little happy holidays? Give us a better smile than that.
That wasn't a smile. That was a, should we? Yes, we
Cheers,
should.
babe. Happy holidays, everyone. All right.
I just want to eat the graham cracker.
I know.
Off the outside.
So, funny little secret. I crushed up some of this graham cracker at home and I was like eating it with a spoon. Like just I was dipping some like mango in it and things in it. It's the crushed up graham cracker and chocolate is pretty yummy.
It seems like there's a woohoo. I'm only guessing that that has
Or
to
cheers.
be. Well, yeah. No, yeah. It's just about the cheers, or perhaps the s'mores old fashioned. Because, wow.
Yeah, we love this one. So who's gonna make the gingerbread espresso martini with us? How many of you are afraid of the espresso martini at night, and how many are like all in because it's a Friday night
All
and you
right.
stay up late?
You Nancy's. There's not that much caffeine in
There's
it.
not. Yeah.
I mean, it's an ounce of the coffee liqueur. If you drink a cup of coffee, that's like 8 ounces. That's maybe like 100 milligrams of coffee.
Yeah.
This is not straight coffee.
Yeah.
And
it's Friday night.
And it's also tempered by alcohol.
Yeah.
So it's not going to keep you
up or downer. Yeah. And it's Friday night, so now you'll have a little fun tonight for sure. And it's the holiday season. Who needs to sleep during the holiday season?
Y'all got only one more weekend.
Get all those holiday parties in. Get all those holiday parties in for sure. Yeah. So for this cocktail, we're using Pusser's rum, which some of you may recognize from one of our past SipScout kits where we did a whole Pusser's kind of exploration and made a painkiller. So we are using the Pusser's Blue Label rum, which is really a lovely dark rum. And espresso martinis are often made with vodka, not rum.
True story.
At the Crafty Cask, we actually have a different recipe for just a straight espresso martini on our website that uses rum as well. We are big fans of using rum in espresso martinis. So we are going to that. Ed, thank you so much for joining. Yes, please.
Happy holidays, Ed.
And then the other that we're using is this Arosta coffee liqueur from Vapor Distillery. And Vapor Distillery is the distillery that makes also the Boulder Spirits American single malt that we had in October in our single malt kit. So they make beautiful single malts as well, but this coffee liqueur. So we highly encourage you to give a little taste to each of these. If you didn't do that with the rye whiskey before, since we didn't mention it, make sure to do that as well. That rye whiskey is so spicy and good. I love it. But yeah, these are really great, great brands.
And then most importantly, perhaps, is the gingerbread
espresso.
Oh,
yeah. The gingerbread espresso liqueur is.
Please make sure you try this one too, because like it's I understand that it's cloyingly sweet, but it's so good. It's like perfectly gingerbread with just a hint of coffee. Try not to over pour this one because you can always add more. The recipe calls for a half an ounce, and that's a tablespoon. I'm actually going to start with half of that.
Because you prefer it.
Because you can always add more. Yeah. You can't take it out.
Yeah.
And then an ounce of the Aragosta. Arosta. Aragosta is Italian for lobster. This is not lobster.
Lobster liqueur, though. What could we do with that? That'd be a fun martini, right?
I'll try that.
Yeah, I would try a lobster martini.
And then the 2 ounces of the Pussers. And part of the reason that we decided to use Pussers is because it's based on a type of sugar from a region in the northern part of South America in the Demerara Valley.
Guyana?
Yeah, in Guyana, exactly. And Demerara sugar is one of the few like examples of sugars that are regionally specific and are noted and respected for the deliciousness that the sugar from that region kind of creates. Anyway,
yeah.
this is one of the cocktail, I guess, pick your own adventure.
Okay.
I would personally probably stir this one. But because there's a lot of sugar, shaking it and creating something that's a little bit like foamier is probably going to be a little bit more aligned with Suzanne's preference. And
I like a little frothier.
Making it for her. I'm going to shake it.
He's the maker, I'm the drinker. No, not all the time.
So once again, you build it in the drink without the ice because you don't want it to dilute. And then you add the ice. And then the most important thing about shaking is your smile. You gotta smile.
And watch his wrist too, and how he.
And that pitter patter of the glass.
That makes the whole party stop and be like, oh, what's going on over there?
This one doesn't have a lot of garnish options. I mean,
we have our candied ginger on the toothpicks. So you can just kind of thread those.
Less necessary to add beforehand.
Yep. But this candied ginger is killer. By the by, it's really spicy and sweet and just so yummy.
Sure. Voila.
Voila. To the cocktail can.
Oh, yeah. Where's his team?
No. Now, some espresso martinis, not a lot, I guess, are a little creamy. Could you add a little milk to this if you liked that texture?
100%.
And just make it the same way and shake it?
Yeah, 100%. I would say that something in this direction, which already has a lot of depth and richness and sweetness, you probably would want to do very full
little
fat.
Oh, okay.
So you're staying on the same page. You know, the Pussers is already kind of rich and texturally mouth-filling or filling. The Arosta is similar, and then you got this rich, gingerbread coffee espresso syrup. So keeping on that trend, this is something that you could sit and sip after dinner for a while.
Yeah, for sure.
Because the richness is there, and you don't want to like defy that by using skim
milk and like watering it down.
Right.
Yeah.
So you want to keep that richness available, and I would say half and half is my first choice.
Okay.
You could use whole milk if you wanted to add a little
sure,
something that wasn't quite as rich, but.
And then that would, for some people, adding that little bit of milk can make it kind of more of that after dinner drink with kind of, your dessert drink essentially. Whereas I find this without any cream in it is more of my like Christmas brunch drink, perhaps. My like, let's get this party started drink.
Like in the morning?
Yeah.
No.
I don't know why the cream makes me think of it as dessert, but without the cream, I think of it as like breakfast.
Yeah, for someone that puts
cream in her coffee. Yeah, that's kind of weird. Yeah. Oh, bourbon cream. That's a great idea.
I like
that. Yeah, I like that idea a lot. Yep. Yeah. They have a maple cream too. Actually, Tom and Steph, you're in Massachusetts. Boston Harbor Distillery makes a beautiful maple cream that is so good. And when we lived in Massachusetts for a little while, I would just put it in my coffee in the mornings on the weekends, and it was so delicious.
It's a really good excuse to not use Bailey's.
Yeah, exactly. There's
anything wrong with
yeah, Bailey's is delicious, but it's big booze, and they don't need your dollars like these small guys do, And there are a lot of craft makers making bourbon creams, making maple creams now, kind of making these cream liqueurs. There's an Irish one that makes an Irish cream. I can't think of who it is. That's supposed to be really quite delicious. But yeah, that's a great call, Tom. I think a maple cream or a bourbon cream or something. Maybe there's a gingerbread cream out there. Who knows?
I mean,
who knows?
Let's find that.
Yeah.
If anybody finds a gingerbread cream liqueur, please let us know. Because there's a lot of ginger liqueur. Well, maybe not a lot of ginger liqueurs, but like Cantons and Kings.
Mm-hmm.
Both are, I think, really nice versions of ginger. But the gingerbread, I feel like, is a little different.
Yeah, than ginger.
And when you taste this syrup, it doesn't taste like ginger. It's not quite that spicy and bright and peppery.
It has the other spices that go with it.
And it also
The
has
cinnamon,
like the cooked
Mhm.
bit, like the bread
Yeah,
kind of
that yeasty,
sugar
bready.
caramelization. Just
Yeah,
gonna eat
for
drink
sure.
a little bit more of it. So good. You don't
Yeah.
even need to drink it. You can just like put it on your lips. It's like
Like chapstick.
chapstick.
Yeah, and if you want to, so having different spiced syrups and different flavored syrups around the holidays can really like up your cocktail game. You can take very standard classic cocktails like a gimlet, like an old fashioned, like an espresso martini. I mean, these are cocktails that have been getting made, for decades, if not longer, right? And so it's just that addition of a seasonal ingredient, a seasonal element that kind of elevates it to being fun for the season.
Yeah.
And the garnishes, you can get really fun with the garnishes too. So yeah, we highly encourage you to play around with syrups. Honestly, if you can make syrups at home. That's a really fun experiment and a fun thing to get into is kind of making your own favorite syrups. You can also, there's quite a few great craft cocktail syrups out there nowadays where they're making really incredible syrups for cocktails. You can actually use coffee syrups. So there's all those Torani and all those brands of coffee syrups.
That have
In a
existed
pinch,
forever.
in a pinch, those will do. I think there's even a toasted marshmallow one that exists out there.
Mhm.
So in a pinch, those will totally do to get those coffee syrups and make your fun cocktails that way as well.
Should we open this up and
Yeah,
let
sure.
people kind of chime in and start talking?
Yeah, we
about
want to have a holiday party. Let's talk about our holiday plans
holiday
and
experiments.
what we're doing. All right, I will. For those of you who need to take off or don't want to turn on your cameras, you're more than welcome to not turn on your cameras. And I'll in a moment I'll promote everyone to panelists. You'll get a little thing on your screen that says promote to panelists. So then you can turn your video on. You can unmute yourself, and you can kind of be seen and talk to all of us like happy hour, like we tend to do. But you can also just stay the way you are and keep listening on in. Or if you have to leave, we thank you very much for joining us.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays. We hope you enjoy these cocktails and we hope you make them for lots of your friends and
share them
family
with
as they
everyone.
come by. Yeah, absolutely. All right. I will start the promoting of the panelists. And then we'd love to hear about all of your holiday plans and what's going on with everyone. And maybe even see some festive wear. Is anyone wearing holiday wear? Anyone dressed up silly? This isn't even our most silly outfits to dress up in, you guys.
I mean, that's not true. These are like top 3.
All right, it's not my most silly outfit.
That's true. Suzanne has one that is exemplary.
I have like a full-on elf outfit.